I'm Arthur Crofton from Light 96.1 Radio. Before we begin the movie, we want to give you a little background on an amazing organization that's working in this area to build new reefs in the environment off North Florida's coast. It's an organization called TISIRI, which stands for Think It, Sink It, Reef It. And it's an acronym for that. It's a non-profit organization focusing on efforts on reef creation and more. And I've got Joe Kistel here, who's going to come up and give us a few words. Ladies and gentlemen, Joe.
Thank you, Arthur. Well, welcome everybody. Sorry it's a little cold and nasty out, but it's a little more comfortable in here. You're about to see a video that, in my opinion, shows some of the most beautiful places on our planet. You're also about to see in this same video some of the places that used to be the most beautiful places in the planet. And what I'm referring to is coral reefs of the world. They're very important ecosystems. The movie's going to tell you all about it, but unfortunately they're also in jeopardy. Again, this film's going to tell you about that. So first off, do you guys realize that we actually have reefs here in North Florida? Is anyone familiar with the reefs? Have any fishermen or scuba divers here? Well, we do. And to give you an idea of quantity of reefs, this image behind me is a map. It shows about 40 reef sites between Jacksonville and St. Augustine. There's only 40 up there because those are the 40 that we've done some work with. In reality, there's probably several hundred reefs offshore Northeast Florida. So we do have reefs. To start, I want to show you just a few animals here that we find on our reef systems. Behind me, it's a very common fish. If you've ever been offshore, I'm sure you've caught one of these. It's called a sea bass. They're critical to our area because it's a popular recreational fish. It's also a popular commercial fish. They live on our reef systems. And this type of damsel, what they do is they go around on the reef and they pretty much munch on algae and little critters. So it's colorful fish. We have colorful fish on our reefs. This is something called an oyster toadfish. They're very common here, but even if you're a scuba diver, there's a good chance you'll never see one. And I say that because they camouflage very well. So this picture is a good example of that. Actually, when I took this, I took about 5 or 6 pictures before I took this picture. And I was actually taking pictures of these anemones on the left, and there's tiny little red shrimp down here on the right. And about that 4th or 5th flash, all of a sudden the center of that hole darted at me. And then I realized the toadfish is there. I took one more picture and then I learned my lesson and kind of moved on my way. What these guys are is they're kind of a reef maintenance organism. They'll actually crawl around on our reefs eating algae. And that's important because if there's an overgrowth of algae, it's actually detrimental to the reefs. So they play a critical role. When boating technologies became adequate to start going offshore, fishermen found out really quick where natural reefs were. The natural reefs we have in North Florida are just basically limestone ledges that stick out of the ground where coral and sponges and algae and all kinds of things grow on those ledges. The growth on those ledges becomes a food source supporting all levels of the marine food chain. So we do have some of that, but we don't have a lot. So these fishermen back in the 50s and 60s realized, hey, there's not a whole lot of natural reefs. We want to catch some fish. We learned that by placing structure offshore, we can attract fish. So that's how the whole program started. And over years, we learned that it actually works pretty well. The boat, before we got involved in it, weighed about 140 tons. In that after picture, the boat weighed 70 tons. So it gives you an idea of the amount of material that came off of it. So after it's cleaned, we basically take it offshore, we sink it, and there it is on the seafloor. But time is where the magic happens. This is that same boat, not even 6 months later. So already in that short period of time, we have quite a diversity of life. I think on our first survey dive, we counted at least 12 species of fish. So this is another local project. This is about 12 miles east of Ponte Vedra. It's all concrete, which is very similar to limestone. That was placed underwater, and this is about 1.5 years later. So already that material has a lot of congregation of life. We're taking material that really doesn't have a use already. We're strategically placing it offshore, and we're essentially creating an ocean oasis. That's not only benefiting the environment, but it's benefiting us as a community. We're creating a destination, so to speak. These are places that people go utilize. They go fishing, they go scuba diving. So it's a good benefit all around. And with that, I'm just going to show you about a 30-second clip of some video we captured at what we call a reef site. That's an old airplane that's been down since the 40s, basically, and you can see it's serving as marine habitat, so it's interesting. But with that, if you guys are interested and want to learn more about what's going on locally, feel free to get a hold of us. Our website is TISIRI.org. We'll be outside for a little bit yet, but don't be shy. Come talk to us. And otherwise, enjoy your movie, guys. Thank you so much.